I know most of you guys were cheering for Alex, but I still have to say it was very nice. Thank you so much for the great crowd tonight.
$157. That is the floor price on SeatGeek right now for a Monday night quarterfinal at a WTA 1000 event. A quarterfinal featuring the world number 4 and a former Canadian Open champion.
Honestly, I hate to play against lefties. I mean, I wish I was a lefty too.
72 hours ago, seats in that same building were moving in 30-minute sellouts. Then Belinda Bencic walked onto Sobeys Stadium on Sunday night.
From Switzerland, Belinda Bencic!
And served a 6-0 second set to a crowd that had come to watch someone else. And every ticket the resellers were holding for tonight lost its story before she shook hands at the net. What happens when the woman you underpriced walks into the quarterfinal you already gave up on? That is the part the vendors are about to learn in public. Belinda Bencic is the 2015 Canadian Open champion. She is also the reigning WTA Comeback Player of the Year, returning to this tournament as a working mother 11 years after she first lifted the trophy here. That is who Toronto's resale market bet against on Sunday night. The Toronto ticket economy for 2026 was not built on tennis. It was built on one player. Tennis Canada watched Alex Eala's opener sell out in 30 minutes. Her round of 32 match against Alicia Parks was physically relocated to the 10,000-seat main court after demand blew past 5,000 tickets pre-match. Sportsnet published a piece explicitly branding Eala as the reason Toronto was sold out. The secondary market read that headline and priced accordingly. Resellers bulk bought quarterfinal night inventory on the theory that the Filipino demand engine would carry across the week. They priced Monday like Eala would still be in the draw on Monday. She was not. At 6-4, 6-0 in 71 minutes, Bencic did not just win a round of 16 match. She detonated a spreadsheet. Start with what the demand actually looked like before Sunday. 3,100 tickets to Eala's opener moved in a single burst. Her second-round match had to be relocated midweek because the assigned court could not hold the crowd. The Athletic documented Filipino-Canadian community groups organizing bulk purchases and travel packages. This was not a tennis audience. This was a pilgrimage, and the resellers knew it. That is what makes what happened next so brutal for them. Sunday night, Bencic played a match that will not appear in any highlight reel the tournament is going to want to run. She dropped the first set 6-4. She won the second 6-0. That is a bagel in the language of tennis, and in the language of the market, it is the sound of a demand curve dying in real time. Eala's 7-match winning streak, the streak that had carried the entire secondary market since Washington, ended on a scoreline that left no room for a comeback narrative to sustain price. Then compare the two prices. Round of 16 resale for Eala versus Bencic, 4-figure asks on multiple platforms, sold-out session, 10,000 seats full. Quarterfinal resale for Gauff versus Bencic the very next night, $157 on SeatGeek. A top 4 seed, a former Canadian Open champion, a Miami quarterfinal rematch from earlier this season, and the market said $157. That is not the price of a bad matchup. That is the price of a market admitting out loud that it never valued Bencic in the first place. Watch the timeline compress. Saturday, vendors holding inventory at premium markup. Sunday night, 6-0. Inventory value in free fall. Monday morning, SeatGeek listings scraping the floor. One match, one player, one collapse. And the collapse has context that makes it worse. Social media commentary from inside Sobeys Stadium suggested that Filipino fans declined to applaud several of Bencic's winners, including during the second set bagel. Fan reels are already circulating with lines about a champion serving her cleanest tennis into a wall of silence, which tells you everything about who was actually in the building. The audience that made those tickets valuable was not a tennis audience that would return for a great quarterfinal. It was an Eala audience. When Eala left, the money left with her. This is the part the serious fans watching this channel already understood weeks ago. You saw the sellout numbers and knew they were not a WTA renaissance. You saw the crowd composition and knew this was event tourism, not sport growth. And now the resale floor is confirming what you were saying in the comments before it Was fashionable to say it. There is a pattern here, and it is not new. The 2025 WTA Finals in Riyadh became a global embarrassment over empty seats. Indian Wells, 2025 produced a viral empty stadium moment during a Sabalenka match. The Tennis Gazette has documented all of it. The WTA's 2026 answer to that pattern has been to lean harder on single-star demand engines, Eala in Toronto, Gauff on home soil, Sabalenka wherever the marketing team can send her. Toronto is what happens when that model meets a Sunday night 6-0. And the resellers get no soft landing. Ontario's provincial government is currently probing StubHub and Ticketmaster for price cap violations tied to Toronto-hosted events. CBC News has been reporting active inspections and cancellations across the exact window this tournament is being played in. The same operators sitting on quarterfinal inventory they cannot move are already sitting inside a regulatory file that has nothing to do with tennis. Underwater on one side, under investigation on the other. Here is what makes it inexcusable. This information was not hidden. The WTA, the governing body of women's tennis, the organization that ranks every player on tour, the official body whose award votes are counted by international tennis media, voted Belinda Bencic the 2025 Comeback Player of the Year. Their own headline for the story called it, in their own words, the mother of all comebacks. That was not a niche blog. That was the sport's official voice, publishing a full blueprint feature on the player Toronto's resellers just decided was worth $157 a seat. When the governing body of your sport publishes the definitive comeback narrative of the year about a former champion and your pricing model still treats her as an afterthought, the failure is not the player. The failure is the model. The SeatGeek number tells a story that reaches past Toronto. Cincinnati begins next week. The U.S. Open begins in 3. Eala's Filipino demand engine will follow her to Cincinnati and to New York. And the same secondary market operators who just got burned in Ontario will have a choice to make about whether to run the same play twice. Meanwhile, the tour is heading into its biggest hardcourt swing of the year with an unresolved attendance problem that Riyadh exposed, Indian Wells confirmed, and Toronto has now underlined in the form of a resale floor. Watch 3 things over the next 21 days. Watch what Bencic does against Coco Gauff tonight. A Miami quarterfinal rematch, Gauff won 6-3, 1-6, 6-3, meaning Bencic has already taken a set off her this year on hard court. Watch the Cincinnati draw and whether tournament directors continue pricing around single-player virality. And watch whether Ontario's regulators name any of the operators currently holding quarterfinal inventory they cannot move. The prediction is straightforward. If Bencic wins tonight, $157 will not be the price of a quiet quarterfinal. It will be the price the market paid for the biggest upset of the tournament. And one of the most expensive lessons the WTA's secondary market has learned this year. None of this is guaranteed. Gauff leads the head-to-head 4-2. She won at Wimbledon this year in 3 sets after Bencic took the first. Bencic is walking into tonight after a 3-hour, 24-minute thriller against Taylor Townsend earlier in the week, 6-7, 7-6, 6-4, the kind of match that leaves legs heavy the next round. She is 31 years old. Her daughter, Bella, is 2. After the Townsend win, Bencic told the on-court interviewer, "It was a very big battle, of course. I think Taylor plays incredibly tricky, and it was a very good match. No excuses, no fatigue talk." She went home to her toddler and came back 48 hours later to bagel Eala. Whatever tonight becomes, that is the version of Bencic the vendors sold seats against. $157. A 6-0 second set to a silent stadium. A comeback player of the year the market forgot. Ontario regulators circling the operators who bet wrong. The Toronto vendors did not just misprice a tennis match. They put a number on how women's tennis is being valued in 2026 by virality instead of talent. And Belinda Bencic handed the entire industry an invoice on Sunday night in 71 minutes without saying a single word about it. So here's the question, and take a side in the comments. If Bencic beats Gauff tonight in a half-empty stadium, whose fault is that emptiness? The The vendors who dumped the inventory, the WTA for building its economy around one player's fandom, or the fans who only show up for their own flag. Pick one, defend it, and if you were one of the people who called this collapse before the resale numbers hit the floor, this channel is where the receipts get kept. Subscribe and stake your prediction for tonight before the first ball is struck. Winner, set, score, and whether the cameras will show us the empty seats or edit around them. The people who called Sunday's bagel are the same people who will call tonight. Be one of them on the record.